Hello everyone, thanks for joining me again today, and I am so glad that you're here. Today you're going to be watching me make another soap. So today I am making a soap called Freshly Brewed Coffee. It is a goat milk soap. So this is something that I've made a couple times. I made it last year and I made it again at the request of someone asking if I had it and to let them know when I had it again. It seems like everybody loves coffee. So this is an awesome soap for men or women alike, and you can enjoy that wonderful smell of fresh brewed coffee as you bathe in the morning or the evening. It won't even keep you awake at night, but you don't have to worry about walking around smelling like coffee. You won't. There's not enough fragrance in there that it really sticks to your skin like perfume or something like that. But you get to enjoy that lovely smell of coffee, just like when you wake up in the morning and it just wafts into your nose and makes you feel refreshed. So this soap is what I'm going to be making. Again, the goat milk is incorporated in it. I didn't mention that in the video, but it is already in those oils and butters when you see that at the beginning of this clip. And I hope you enjoy watching it. You get to see me add the colors, add the fragrance, how I made that, the technique that I used to make the soap. I hope you enjoyed it. The soap is available on my website while supplies last at www.poshsuds.com. Thanks for joining me. Have an awesome day.
So we're using the fragrance oil today called Freshly Brewed Coffee, and this was purchased from Wholesale Supplies Plus. The colors I'm using today are black oxide, brown matte oxide, titanium dioxide, and tall dark and handsome. This is the fragrance oil already pre-mixed with the kaolin clay. So we're just going to get ready to mix our oils and lye solution together here. You can see pouring in the lye solution, which does include sodium lactate, and pouring that over the spatula to try to prevent extra air added into my batter. We'll give this a blend now to bring this to a light trace, or at least to a good emulsion, before we start splitting the batter to add the colors. It did seem that it was coming to a trace pretty quickly, but I wasn't sure if that was a true trace or a false trace, so I blended a little extra, but I knew I was going to be doing some more mixing once I added the colors. Then I need to pour off. I was pouring off 3 separate containers of approximately 8 ounces each for my black oxide, my brown matte oxide, and titanium dioxide. And then in the majority of the batter, the part that will be left in the large pitcher, I used the tall dark and handsome mica. Those little flat saucer bowls or whatever those are, they're great for mixing my colors, but they're a little bit hard to hold on to. Last time I made a soap with these, I actually dropped the thing because you've got all that oil, it gets on your gloves and they're really slippery. So anyway, they're kind of hard to hold on to, but they work out really well to scrape out your colors. So just mixing this in a bit by hand first, and then we will go back and mix them later with the blender once I add the fragrance oil. Black oxide comes up next. So I will put that in the second bowl. and give that a stir as well. Black oxide makes a nice, deep, rich black color of batter. Next goes the Tall, Dark, and Handsome mica. This is from Mad Micas, and all of these colors were pre-mixed with batch oils, but that goes into the largest container there. And then I just add my titanium dioxide that is mixed with distilled water to get my white batter in the last 8-ounce cup. I had made this soap about a year ago, and this was a safflower recipe. It included safflower oil, coconut oil, palm oil, olive oil, shea butter, and castor oil. So this is not the typical recipe I use, but I have used it before. I like to change it up every once in a while. And then getting ready to pour in my fragrance oil that's mixed with kaolin clay. I use a little bit in the black and the brown oxides and the rest in my Tall, Dark, and Handsome. I did not put any of the fragrance oil and kaolin clay mixture into the white simply because this fragrance oil is known to discolor to a dark brown, and I did not want to include that in my white batter. So now I want to go back and mix each of them with my stick blender to be sure that everything is well mixed and incorporated together. When you see me tapping down that stick blender or bumping it against the bottom there, I am trying to get air bubbles that kind of get trapped up under the end of that blender. I'm trying to get those out so that I don't mix a bunch of air into the batter. Smaller bowls are a little harder to get that stick blender in without getting the air out because they're more shallow typically, and it's just a lot easier to get air mixed in there. It's just something that seems like a battle every time, especially since I make small batches, and then when I start splitting it down into multiple colors, it just makes it a little more difficult. You can see that the batter is already thickening up there to a medium trace. So I'm trying to go ahead and work quickly to get this soap moving here. And as always, trying to scrape off the extra makes it easier for cleanup, as well as I want to be able to use as much of that as possible. So I'm going to be using an in-the-pot swirl technique for this soap. And so that means I pour all the colors into one pot, and you'll see when I pour this that it kind of just sits right on top of that darker batter. So that means that it's definitely coming up to a medium to heavy trace. It's not sinking down in. And so I just want to go ahead and get my colors in there. I kind of do them at 9 and 3. I think of it as a clock. And once I get those in, because of the thickness of the batter, I will have to give it a bit of a swirl with my spatula. Sometimes I don't do that with an in the pot swirl. It just depends on how well that batter's, if it's thick or thin. So you'll see me here giving it a few go rounds with the spatula just to mix all the colors in, and then we will pour that into the mold. But you can see there that it is definitely getting to a thick trace, and I have to move it around with the spatula. It is not thin and pouring, which is fine. It's actually, you don't want it too thin because the colors will just meld together way too much, and then you can't see the distinction of the colors. So, you know, there's just a line there of how thick do you want it, how thin do you want it. They both will produce a different look in your soap. But this fragrance oil did accelerate that trace, which is the thickness of the batter, because the white stayed quite thin, and it did not have the fragrance oil in it. So it was easy to determine that that was the issue going on here. So I tap it down, trying to get any air bubbles out, and also trying to get the batter to smooth out there. I add a line of the brown oxide on top and then the black as well, and we'll just create a swirl to make the top of the soap look nice. I did not add any of the white on top because I had already poured a fair amount of the white into the batter, and I needed to be sure that I saved plenty of that for the white that I wanted to put on top to represent dollops of whipped cream on top of the coffee, which you'll see here soon. So I needed to save that for that piece. So I only used the rest of my black and brown oxide. I decided to save that after looking. Wasn't sure I'd have quite enough. I needed at least 10 dollops for 10 bars of soap. So I decided I better save that one. So here I am just trying to smooth that out a bit and then going to make a swirl. Using my bamboo skewer, I go ahead and start swirling that in. And at the bottom there on the left side, you'll see that it's mostly black. So I decide to get just a little bit more brown if I can scrape it out of that brown bowl, and add to that to just add some more dimension to the color there. Trying to blend those colors together. Here's where I realize it's pretty dark on this end. I needed to add a different color to it. So I scrape out any remaining pieces of that brown. And it does help, which you will see. Okay, so then we go ahead and get our white, and I'm just putting that in a Ziploc baggie. I usually use a cake frosting bag, but since this was such a small amount, I just decided to use this little Ziploc baggie and cut a hole in the end, and then I used my star tip to be able to put that on the soap. So I put the first 3 on. I decided it was still a little too thin. It just was not holding its shape quite as well as I would have liked. So I held off for a few more minutes. I went ahead and added the coffee beans just to touch that off. And after a few minutes, I go ahead and finish out the rest of that loaf with those little dollops of so-called whipped cream on top. I wanted to be sure I had 10 on there because 10 bars, trying to make sure they're spaced appropriately for when I cut it, and was glad that I had enough of the white to add that and even a little extra, so I made them a little taller. And then just go back and put those beans on top. And so this is what the soap looked like as it was setting up and getting ready to be cut in 12 to 24 hours. So I have to line up the soap to cut as best I can between these dollops with my cutter, and I take the end piece off and use that as a sample. But this is what the fresh brewed coffee for 2022 looks like. You can see the lines of white in there that represent the cream in the coffee and the various shades of black and brown. It makes a very nice bar. It smells wonderful. It makes a great unisex bar for both men and women. I hope you will like it. Check it out at my website, www.poshsuds.com. And I would love for you to give me a like or give me a comment on my channel. I am just trying to build my YouTube audience. This is only my second video, so I appreciate you watching today. I hope you will all have a wonderful day and watch for more videos to come out from Posh Suds. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.